Hi, everyone. So I'm Heather Huegi. I'm the Senior Manager for Digital Marketing and Technology at IFAW. I have been in digital marketing for about 16 years. Oh, do I need to talk closer? Is that better? Okay. This is my first time presenting. Can anybody tell? Okay, so before joining IFAW, though, I did work in a lot of different industries, and the reason I'm going to bring that up is because it is relevant to how we made changes at IFAW. IFAW is my first nonprofit experience, so I was working in higher education, I worked in market research, I had a little time with a biopharma conference company, and most recently, prior to joining IFAW, I was working for a digital agency that was a HubSpot partner. I'm pretty passionate about using technology to reach digital goals. It's one of my major passions, and it's kind of why I stayed in the realm that I'm in. I'm based in Colorado, where I live with my husband, 2 dogs, and 6 chickens. And today I'll be sharing IFAW's experiences with tech transitions, specifically HubSpot, because we have been going through several. This was the first one that we did. The growth and results we've seen, and I'll obviously leave room for questions at the end. But as an icebreaker, who's an animal lover? Are all of you gonna raise your hands? Yes, okay. Does anyone have a favorite animal that they wanna share? Anybody? No?
Shark.
Shark, yes. Snakes. Okay, great.
Axolotl.
Sorry?
Axolotl.
Oh, wow, okay, great. Mine are elephants. I love elephants. I think they're fascinating. The reason I ask this is because IFAW is actually the International Fund for Animal Welfare. A lot of people don't know what that means. We're working on branding. Yeah, we're really focused on animals. So I'll get into a little bit about who IFAW is. Just wanted to see if anybody was familiar with IFAW before this presentation. A few of you, good, yay. Okay, that's great. So for anybody who doesn't know who IFAW is, we were established in 1969. We started, incidentally, fighting the Canadian seal hunt. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with that. It's still happening to this day, unfortunately. So over 50 years later, we're still fighting that fight. But IFAW has grown into a global nonprofit. We now work in over 40 countries. We're really focused on rescuing, rehabilitating, and releasing, most importantly, when we can. So we work a lot of disaster response. I've had a few conversations about the LA wildfires. We were responding there. But we also work in wildlife crime, wildlife trafficking, a lot of different areas all across the world. Another thing we focus on is restoring and protecting natural habitats. So we do a lot of work in Australia. When the bushfires happened in 2020, I believe it was, we really focused on building those ecosystems back up. And then finally, we also partner with local communities and governments and organizations to make sure that we're really focused on the motto of IFAW, which is a world where animals and people can thrive together. So making sure that those ecosystems are working together, everyone's safe and happy. That's the ultimate goal, right? So, as I said, I've been with IFAW for about 4 years. I did come from a for-profit background, but I'm hoping today that I can share some insight into the technology changes that we've made at IFAW, why we made them, and what they've done for us, primarily really driving higher productivity, increasing personalization, which you talked about a little bit, and supporting the growth of revenue globally. So I'll kind of give you a little bit of background on where we were and why we needed to make this change. Some of you may have found yourselves in familiar situations, so I'll get into some of the MarTech that we were using at IFAW and why we had to make the change. Different from Thorn, we had systems in place that weren't necessarily working for us. When I joined IFAW, we were using Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Has anybody used Marketing Cloud prior? A few of you? Okay. We were working on email campaigns, basic welcome journeys. We were using it for ad audiences, for our digital advertising, and we were also using it for SMS. So that was what I inherited in my role at IFAW and what we were trying to do. The pros of Salesforce Marketing Cloud is it's really robust system. There's a lot of opportunity, and it's relatively flexible. But what we struggled with is it does require a certain level of developer expertise, which we do not have at IFAW. We have no internal developers that work on external programs. It's also a collection of acquired tools. So it was acquisition-based, so everything was kind of built in, pulled into one system, rather than a tool that was being built for marketing automation purposes, like HubSpot. And then finally, journeys, so welcome journeys, welcome series, they were really convoluted. You needed to have SQL knowledge, which we did not have on our team. It's not a common thing for small marketing teams to have a developer or to have that very specific knowledge. So we really struggled with that. And put really simply, it just wasn't easy for our team to use. So this was implemented 7 years ago now, so 3 years prior to my joining IFAW. It was recommended by an external consultant, so I'm sure a lot of you have dealt with that, where maybe they hired externally, made the recommendation to use certain systems, and it wasn't necessarily right for the organization or had the input and feedback from internal team members on what we needed and how we needed to use it. It was with an entirely different digital team 7 years ago, not to mention an entirely different digital landscape. I mean, the digital landscape has changed substantially over 7 years and still changing. And so, that's sort of what we inherited. Since the launch of Salesforce Marketing Cloud, it became kind of a set it and forget it tool. It was working. It was getting, it was doing what it needed to do. If it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mentality. Just let it run and see how it goes. Not a lot of reporting. And it had very little innovation or investment from our internal team. We became, because of all of these challenges, we became really inefficient. We were slow. We weren't able to execute the tasks that we wanted to execute because we simply couldn't figure out how to use the system with the team structure that we had. I spent months learning SQL. I am not a power user, but I know just enough to be dangerous. And one of my colleagues also spent time learning. We spent so much time learning how to use the tool that we weren't doing the marketing that we were responsible for doing. We did hire a vendor that helped us, but as many of you have probably experienced, vendors in certain situations can be really expensive, and maybe you don't have the time investment necessary to execute the tasks that you need to execute in a timely manner. This was a very specific vendor. It was not CauseMic, just so you all know. They were expensive. They had very limited time to support us, so we were still spending all this time really trying to figure out how to use it. It just wasn't right for us. So it was kind of like you had mentioned, when do you blow it up and just start over? And that was sort of what I was thinking. But even after all of those struggles and everything that we encountered, I had made the recommendation to switch from Marketing Cloud to HubSpot, but I was met with a lot of pushback. It was a hard sell. I think you had asked Sahar about how to do that, how to make sure you can make the recommendation and stand by that recommendation and get buy-in. I got a lot of, HubSpot's not built for nonprofits. It's not gonna work for us. It's not right. Tech transitions take too much time, too much investment. It's gonna take away from our day-to-day. They spent so much money on Marketing Cloud 3 years prior, they're not gonna spend it again. Leadership's not gonna go for it. It's just a massive change. There was also uncertainty about what HubSpot actually provided. I think it maybe, and HubSpot, correct me if I'm wrong, it started as a website grader back in like 2008 or something like that, yeah. And no one had realized that it had become this massive marketing automation platform. So I got lots of pushback. I struggled with that for sure. But at the same time, we were being asked to build sophisticated donor journeys. We were being asked to build personalized strategies based on the audience. We were asked to build individual content by market, by type. We have 8 fundraising markets at IFAW. We are international, so we have France, Germany, the Netherlands, Australia, Canada, US. So we're working in multiple languages, we're working in multiple markets, GDPR compliance, all of that. We were being asked to drive more revenue, build our donor base, gain more advocates. We were asked to do complex reporting. It was all about personalizing, more, faster. I'm sure you all understand that. But with that, comes time. There's time limitations there. How are you going to do that with the same team structure that you've had the entire time? And a lean team at that for being an international organization. So what were we to do? What was I to do with these tasks I was given for my team? How are we going to execute them in a timely manner and still get everything else done that we needed to get done? Quite frankly, I was pushy. That's what I did. I pushed, probably annoyingly so. I brought it up often, the need for change. We were doing the best that we could. Our team is really strong digital marketers, but we couldn't execute with what we were given, and we were being set up for failure. I had made the recommendation, okay, well, if we're going to keep this system, let's get a developer, or let's get somebody who's well-versed in Marketing Cloud so we can utilize it. That didn't happen. So what are we going to do? So I got together with a colleague. We put together a very detailed presentation of why we thought this change would benefit IFAW. But because of what I was up against, coming from a for-profit background, I wanted to make sure I was doing my due diligence and understanding what other tools were out there that were comparable to HubSpot that we could consider. We looked at engaging networks. I'm sure some of you are familiar with engaging networks. We looked at Razor's Edge. We put together pros and cons lists. We put it all in this massive presentation for leadership to make sure that we were covering all our bases and making the most informed decision. I was pretty confident in HubSpot. I have used it for 12 years. I felt very confident that we were going to be able to utilize it in a nonprofit role. And so I worked with a colleague, and we wound up pitching this idea. So a couple of the things that I pointed out with why HubSpot could be more valuable or better for our team. We would operate in minutes and hours instead of days and weeks. Building a simple journey was really challenging for us in Marketing Cloud. Its simple, flexible, and user-friendly interface was really important. We had a team that was very well-versed in digital tech, but the time limitations are always hard. Everyone's wearing multiple hats. We're working on a lot of different things at once, so the simplicity and the flexibility was going to be really important. We wanted to focus on personalization, which HubSpot is really great at with all of their smart content tools. We made the recommendation for HubSpot because of donor journeys, how simple they are to build. It's, email is drag and drop editors, very straightforward, very different from Marketing Cloud. Innovative. That's one of the things that HubSpot is really great at. I don't know if anybody attended the Inbound conference last year. They talked about all of their AI capabilities that are coming out, which keeps growing and growing and growing. So another reason I chose HubSpot and made the recommendation is that we can grow with it. So all of the things that they're launching, we can then utilize and grow with it, and we're thinking forward instead of just right now. one of the biggest things and selling points for leadership is always money, right? How are we going to save money? And that includes time, right? So time savings and productivity, allowing the team to spend more time on strategic initiatives rather than learning tools. Supporter satisfaction was another one that we were really focused on. We really care about our donors. We want to understand them. We want to provide them with the experience and details that they're looking for. So we wanted to, optimize and make a connected donor experience. We've got multiple levels of that as well. And then, of course, scalability, like I said. So I felt confident we could do all of these things by making this switch. So once I got the approval, which took a little bit of time, we set to work. So I was tasked with figuring out, how are we going to do this? We're not getting any more team members. We're not changing any roles. We're not doing anything like that. How are we going to make sure we can get this done? So I felt confident in our team to learn HubSpot and to be able to use it, but ultimately, we weren't going to have the time or capacity to set it up ourselves. We needed help there. We needed help with the implementation side. But I wanted to make sure that we would still focus on meeting or exceeding our fundraising targets, but also learning the tool easily. We wanted it set up with limited long-term support from an agency. Not no support, just limited support, because CauseMic is great. So we did enlist CauseMic to support in the transition from Salesforce marketing to HubSpot. So they helped us with our back-end styling. They helped us with the style guidelines, figuring out how to have translations for everything that we were utilizing, ensuring the data flow would sync properly, efficiently between HubSpot and our CRM systems. IFAW has a massive amount of tech tools. We're trying to drill it down a little bit. This was a first start, but we needed to make sure that HubSpot was going to sync and work properly with all of our systems. So we really started in this discovery phase. So in May, we were research and planning with CauseMic. We spent a lot of time looking at what was already built in Marketing Cloud, what we needed to replicate, and what we could do in the future moving forward. A month later, we went through our implementation phase. So we were building our templates. We were making sure the data was syncing from HubSpot to Salesforce. We're also using Salesforce, but it's not our CRM, interestingly enough. But we use it as kind of a connector. So we were making sure that all of that was working. We were migrating the workflows that we were able to set up in Marketing Cloud, which really were only welcome journeys. So if somebody came in as a new lead or a new donor, we had one journey. It was a thank you message, and maybe they got 2 more emails before they went straight into the fundraising funnel and got emails from us substantially. Email is actually one of our biggest drivers at IFAW, so we do focus on that a lot. So as I said, we were using Salesforce Marketing Cloud for email, donor journeys, ad audiences, and SMS. So we focused on tackling these areas first. So CauseMic came in, helped us focus on those 4 areas. From there, we had to test, right? Everybody was a little bit concerned that there was still concern. Even though we got the approval, even though we were moving forward, there was still concern about whether it was going to work or not for us. So what we did, just as a tip, which I'm sure all of you have encountered before, we kept Marketing Cloud for 6 months simultaneously, just in case things didn't go well. So we kept both systems. We were sending all of our emails out of Salesforce Marketing Cloud while we were going through this whole setup. There was also a major concern about timing. I felt very confident we could do it in 6 months. 6 months. I think CauseMic felt confident we could do it in 6 months. We did it in 4. But that's not standard for nonprofits, at least from what I've learned. That tech transitions take a lot of time. So we spent a lot of time testing. And one of the biggest things that we did here, because we are an international organization, there are a lot of different regions that need to be involved in that testing and being pulled in to make sure the translations are correct, because sometimes even there's variations from Google Translate or Deep AI or any of the tools that you can use for translations. So we needed to make sure we included all of those team members. So we built regional variations. I'll get into that a little bit, how we did that. And then month 4, we launched our first email out of HubSpot. It was really quick. We absolutely couldn't have done it without CauseMic, quite frankly. But in 4 months, we had fully transitioned to HubSpot for our US market. So we focused on US first, built everything with US as our base, and then we migrated with all of the other regions, and they followed 2 months later. So within 4 months, we were up and running for the US. 6 months, we were up and running for all of our other markets. So what are we using in HubSpot? As I said, we've launched all our email campaigns, which include cultivations, fundraising, advocacy. All are out of HubSpot for all our international markets. We migrated all of our lead generation forms, so all of our contact us forms, anybody who's asking for information about maybe legacy or maybe they're a major donor, everything is out of HubSpot. Something that we didn't use in Marketing Cloud for various reasons were landing pages. Our CMS is a custom CMS, and it was built in such a way that we can't make easy edits. So we are utilizing HubSpot landing pages because they're just simpler to use. We were also trying A/B versions, which is great, a lot of testing. We built numerous targeted workflows. So we went from one welcome workflow for each market to 6 or 7 for each market, depending on how people are coming in and what they're interested in. We migrated to SMS in HubSpot. Now, admittedly, and I'm sorry, HubSpot folks, it's not perfect yet. When we started, they were only offering SMS, so you had to just have a regular long code number. They have since launched MMS and short codes, but that does require us to make changes to our systems and how we're doing things, and there is an increased cost with that, of course. So, it's working for us. It's working well. It's not perfect. I'm sure they'll make it perfect at some point, but it's not quite there yet. It's also only available in the US and Canada right now, and because we have so many markets, we do want to explore SMS in Germany and Netherlands, UK, and potentially Australia. So, we are looking into that. But we're able to send messages really quickly, and the personalization is great. So we can utilize it. Same as we do with email, you can personalize your SMS campaigns and have that sort of personal touch. We're also using calls to action. So we weren't using these a lot previously, and again, because the website is so challenging, we are using HubSpot CTAs instead. We're exploring a lot of different options there. I think the team is actually having a lot of fun building CTAs and figuring out where they want to put it and how they want to use it. We're utilizing digital advertising within the platform. We're A/B testing emails. We're exploring more tools within HubSpot, but really what it's allowed us to do since this switch and using all of these different things, reporting, all of these different things in the tool, it's really allowed us to dig more into the details, and that gets into the reporting side of things, and so that we can make more informed decisions than we were able to before, specifically for each individual market, and we're doing it faster. So one of the questions you might be asking yourselves is, how did we tackle this international element? Is anybody else international? Do they have multiple markets? Yeah? Okay, a few of you. It's a challenge, but we built a structure because we knew how important it was going to be to target specifically for international audiences, be compliant with those regions, and also allow the teams the flexibility of creating whatever they're looking for in their market that's not necessarily following the US model. So we built a structure alongside CauseMic, Evelyn and Katya. Yes, amazing. They helped us to build emails easily, forms, landing pages, templated modules for each market. So when we build an email, I've got a couple of examples here. So this first one is a French email. So everything is in Dutch. And all of the links, all of the footers, everything goes to the Netherlands office, the Netherlands website, so that it's appropriate for that audience. We also, for smart content, for example, so even within those markets, as an example, the Netherlands don't have a lot of mid audiences, so they don't have a lot of mid-level donors, but they do have a lot of potential legacy donors. So we want to use smart content. We're using smart lists and smart content in those emails to target those individuals. Really the way that we're doing that is we built a US version as a guide, just layout, style, that kind of thing. But then it's simple clone and swap out the modules. It takes about 5 minutes. Whereas we would have had to build something from scratch in Marketing Cloud just because it's not quite as simple. All our email templates have sections that change links, footers, our landing pages, same here. We're actually integrated with Fundraise Up as well. Our landing pages have those same templates. It's a drag and drop, super simple to use for anybody who hasn't done any international stuff on their website using HubSpot. We've also started to use more of the translation options within forms. So we recently did a supporter survey where we wanted to ask our supporters what they're interested in hearing about and how often, how do they like to be communicated to. And so we used forms, HubSpot forms, not really built for surveys. I know they have a survey tool that's more like an NPS scoring system or something like that. I've not looked into it for IFAW specifically. So we did build forms as a survey. And there's translation options, so you can just change the language. And then that's things like, the previous button, the next button as people are going through. But you can edit these really easily. So it's been really easy for our team to just jump in there and make changes where they need to. So we're using a lot of smart content. Each of our emails targets, mids, sustainers, lapsed donors, current donors. We're using a lot of smart content for all of our audiences. So what have we seen? What have we learned from changing from Salesforce Marketing Cloud to HubSpot? And I realize I'm rushing through this. We'll see how I go. So we've increased efficiency. So most notably, by using a more efficient platform, we've increased our productivity by 48%, which is a lot. That's a lot. It's supported the team in being able to continuously raise revenue and grow year over year. So one of the things that we've learned, we work with M&R. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with M&R yet. And they put out a report every year. And email has been down in a lot of areas. Not for us. It has not gone down. We're doing great. And I really do attribute a lot of that to, obviously there's variables there, what content we're sending, when we're sending it, who we're sending it to. But I do attribute a lot of that to HubSpot. As an example of increased productivity, end of year is one of the largest fundraising times of year for us. I'm sure it is for many of you. We put out this past year 80 donation forms and 96 variations of emails in 2 weeks with 3 people. Right? That's impressive. That's impressive. It's a lot, and it sounds like a lot, right? Sounds like a lot of email. And it is, but it works for us. for whatever reason. So it also opens up a lot of opportunities. So if we're spending those 2 weeks, just those 2 weeks of the month, building those 96 emails and 80 donation forms, what else does that leave us with? What else can we accomplish with that extra time that we have? We can explore what we're doing for SMS. We can explore different, digital advertising. We can explore helping internal teams, donor relations, for example. We can support them more with things that they want to do, maybe designed emails out of HubSpot instead of, Outlook. A lot of opportunity there. So I added a couple of numbers here. The first one I want to call out is the cost savings. That was the most important for our leadership team, for our executive team. We knew that they spent all this money and all this time on Marketing Cloud and investing. And that's not to say, I didn't even actually consider the consultant that they hired for Salesforce Marketing Cloud, so it's probably more than this. But we saved $110,000 a year by making this switch from Marketing Cloud to HubSpot. It's a lot of money for a nonprofit. While only being utilized in the US, we did have a 181% increase in revenue from SMS since this switch, which is absolutely incredible. It still boggles my mind. Obviously, other factors do play a role in that. Content, when we send it, who we're sending it to, that all plays a role. But ultimately, we're sending more. We're sending more text messages that are more relevant to our audience. We're doing a combination of stewardship and fundraising. We're trying to keep our audience engaged on that platform, and it's growing. As I said, we've increased our productivity by 48%, and now we're doing 3 times more content and segmentation. So when we were in Marketing Cloud, we would send, we've got 3 or 4 fundraising emails a month. Maybe we throw some stewardship in there. Not a lot of real strategy in terms of personalization was happening prior, and that was really just a result of the tool not being, for us. We just couldn't make it work. So we're doing 3 times more content and segmentation, but that also includes those workflows that I was talking about and how many more we can do to really target those audiences and really pull them down the funnel. We haven't gotten into lead scoring yet and MQLs and SQLs, but there's something there. We can get there. This change has been invaluable for our team. I think it was a smart move. I'm glad that the team was on board. They were all really happy, which, you can't always make everyone happy. Everyone has their own things that they like using, things that they like doing, and I mean, this was great. The team was really thrilled. So what future opportunities with HubSpot? So we've launched email, we've launched SMS, we're using landing pages, we're using CTAs, but for anybody who's using HubSpot, that's like probably 1/3 of what you can do within that platform. So what else are we looking at? So I did mention that our current CMS is a struggle. Anytime we want to use something or add something to the website, we have to go through our vendor. We recently also went through a migration to Fundraise Up. That was the second migration that I worked on at IFAW. And something as simple as adding a button or an embed code, something really seems simple to add to your website, is nearly impossible with our CMS, making it really challenging to be flexible and add things that we want to add more touch points for our donors. We want to add more engagement opportunities for our donors. Excuse me. So we're actually considering the HubSpot CMS. Does Thorne use HubSpot or something else? Okay, we'll chat. But we are exploring the HubSpot CMS. What's interesting about the HubSpot CMS, and something that I find value, is first of all, we're already using HubSpot. The team is comfortable with it. The smart content is really intriguing. And just the utilization, the ease of use is massive. So we're exploring it. We're going to see if it works. We are a complex structure. We are international, so we would need to make sure that it really is going to work for what we're looking for, but it is something that we're considering. We do post out a lot of content, but our website structure, we could adjust it to make it more useful. We have one person on our team that's the website manager for 8 markets, and every market is doing something different. So I want to make it easier on him, if I can. The social media integration, we do use a different tool for social media, but we could integrate with HubSpot so that we can have holistic reporting for our campaigns. So we're exploring that. That's a really straightforward integration, so it's probably something we'll just do. I don't think I need approval for that. Personalized website and blog content, that would come along with the HubSpot SMS or CMS, so I'm hoping that can happen. And then the A/B testing website pages. So we're currently doing that with our landing pages, but we do want to be able to do that with our website pages. What content is going to work for our audiences? What's going to resonate? How are they going to convert on one page versus the other? Chatbots. Does anybody use chatbots? Really? Okay, no one. Oh, one. Okay, all right. Chatbots have been around for a while, but no one uses them. It's strange. I thought we were the only ones. I'm glad I'm not alone. I want to explore chatbots. We have an amazing donor relations team, but it would be really nice to be able to help them field, get them to the right person at the right time. Help them figure out where they need to go on their website and when, give them resources that they're looking for about IFAW. I find it really valuable for unknowns, so people who come to the website and they're not really sure who IFAW is or what they do. Maybe it would be valuable for them to understand our annual report. Where does their money go? I know that's really important for donors. So things like that. So we want to explore chatbots. It's something I really want to put some time into next year. And then Breeze. Has anybody looked into Breeze? AI at HubSpot you have? Yeah? Okay. We're looking into it. We're in the discovery phase. IFAW does not currently have approval to use AI, which we're working on. I'm hopeful that with HubSpot already being a tool that we use, we already have a contract with them, we already know what kind of compliance they have in place. I'm hoping that it will be an easy sell, but we'll see. So I'm really excited to see what we could do there. So there's lots to explore. There's lots to build on, and yeah, that's all I've got.
Another amazing example of somebody who took a ton of time out of their normal job to prepare this presentation. So I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you for the time you put into it. It's as Bobby liked to tell me, it takes a lot of work for something to look easy. So thank you. We appreciate it. I have a question for you. Like coming from the agency side and then getting into the nonprofit. What kind of surprised you most about leading the digital transformation and that process of bringing HubSpot and kind of rebuilding your tech stack internally? Yeah,
that's a good question. I think one of the biggest challenges that I faced with trying to make this transition, so with coming from the digital agency, a lot of those companies that we were working with were not nonprofit. Mm-hmm. So it was easy to sell them on SQLs and MQLs and how can you utilize this for your funnel and things of that nature. Nonprofits just built differently. It's not exactly the same. So we did really struggle with getting that buy-in. So I also it was a smaller digital agency, much like CauseMic, a little bit bigger than CauseMic, but smaller agency. And we didn't need as much buy-in to make the change. At IFAW, there's a lot of internal structures. There's so many people that need to be involved, so you almost needed to figure out the way to pitch it to the right audience. So you had to sort of come up with 4 different ways of saying why HubSpot was going to be valuable.
You're describing why our sales process is so long, so I empathize with what you're describing. This is it's the HubSpot crew. It's like, why don't you close deals faster?
Yeah, it takes a while.
We're pitching all these custom audiences, so thank you.
Yeah,
That's my love language. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I think people have different, and a lot of times like the concern, right, that comes up,
Yes.
like I'm envisioning someone who maybe is working in finance and
Yep.
has been through multiple iterations and is like just frustrated because the information, the data that they need to report revenue isn't there, or
Right.
the restrictions aren't there.
Right. Yep.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
How long did that process take you?
I think it took me it was almost a year, I think, to make sure that I had all my bases covered. And at IFAW, that's apparently fast. So it worked out really well in my favor. But again, like I said, I was kind of annoying about it. I was like, we really need this. If you want us to do this, this is what I'm going to need.
Yeah. Well, maybe 150% cost savings or 3x
110%,
return will
yes.
help with that sale.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
okay, similarly, we have an unbelievable expert who we've brought in. What questions might we have for Heather? Yes.
We use a project management software. So the way I figured it out was looking at what we were able to accomplish on a regular basis using Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So how many emails campaigns were we able to get out? How many workflows were we able to get out? How many tasks were we completing during that time frame versus what we're doing now with HubSpot?
Okay, cool.
That's how I looked at it, yeah.
Another way to kind of build upon that, and I can share this presentation with you that I've done where basically like we help organizations set up an internal agency model where you actually track your time. And it's not to be like, hey, are you being productive with your time? But it's really about understanding how much time does it take for a landing page, for an email campaign, really understanding, because when we do that impact effort grid that Justice shared earlier, well, time is critical, like component of how much effort something takes. So really tracking out your time and understanding how much goes into putting together a campaign by channel, by audience, so that you can determine the ROI is another useful thing to explore. Other questions?
That's a really good question, and it's come up. Obviously, it's one of the biggest concerns that IFAW has. How are you going to lose that human element? Are you going to lose that human connection by using AI? A lot of the AI tools that we're hoping to put in place are really only supplemental, not in place of. So I know that the donor relations team, for example, they deal with people all the time. They deal with donors. They're the in-between between IFAW and their donation. And we don't want to lose that. That's very important and one of the biggest concerns for nonprofit. So what we're really looking at with utilizing AI is really just from a productivity and implementation standpoint. So using AI to build a subject line for an email is not going to necessarily hinder that human element. However, one of the other things that we're really making sure we're looking at is the oversight of humans looking at AI. So we can't just implement AI and just have it run free. That's terrifying. But we can, implement some things to make things faster, to test things out, to get people to the right place without losing someone overseeing it or that human element. We did this at my previous agency. We implemented a chat bot called PrimBot. We called her PrimBot because the name was primitive. And a little play on words. And all it really did was it asked why they were visiting. Why are you coming to our website? What can we help you with? But it only took them so far. They had to speak to someone at a certain point to get to what they needed. So definitely something we're making sure we're evaluating. We're in the process, and I'm part of this team that's exploring AI at IFAW. And one of the things that we're really looking at is what processes and policies are we going to put into place to utilize this? We're not going to do anything without it. That's really important. Yeah, it's a great question. So internally. Yeah. I'm like, no one's going to care about that. Yes, so we regularly have a global call with the entire organization, which is really kind of fascinating because we're international. So like the amount of people that can come onto that call is pretty great. But we have those once a month. And every month, each team is pulled in to talk about kind of like small wins or quick wins or things that we've done that are being helpful for the organization. So we do communicate it internally. My boss is really good at sharing when our team does something that she's really proud of. So we also have, on our Teams chat, we also have I can't remember what the name of the Teams chat is, but it's basically like a kudos. You know, who does what, that's shared regularly too. So if we've grown, if we've saved the organization $110,000, we'll communicate that. We're trying to be really open about those things. Also when there's hesitation about tech transitions, Fundraise Up was another really great example. Our transition was massive, much larger than HubSpot, and there were more people involved. But we made sure to communicate the value and what we were going to do and how it was going to work for us. So we do try to communicate that regularly. Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm sure same as Justice, it was challenging. It's challenging to go through these transitions while also meeting all the regular expectations, of your day-to-day. What I did with my team was I really was trying to be as open as possible to make sure they knew to let me know if things were getting too crazy, if they were overloaded. I didn't want burnout, but this change needed to happen, so we kept communicating the value of what it was going to be moving forward. We did have some struggles. It was challenging, especially going this quickly. As I said, without CauseMic, we wouldn't have done it. There's no way. They became sort of an extension of our team. And sometimes there were things that, were assigned to me, and we had a disaster response campaign. And that's a drop everything and raise as much as you can to help as many animals as you can. And we would have to go to CauseMic and say, can you help out with this? If you can't, we're gonna push the deadlines. What worked well for us is that I had estimated 6 months of this transition. Leadership and my boss had estimated a year just to give us, wiggle room. And I think that did help. So I had a little bit of padding there. I had some flexibility, which definitely helped. But we were to the wall. We were really, really, working really hard doing this transition. But without the extension, the CauseMic team extension, it wouldn't have been possible.
I'm not leaving on just that because it's an amazing plug. So thank you, Heather. But because we have a schedule to keep. So thank you again for making the time to put this together and to come here to share your experience with us. We really appreciate it.